And I must commend the entire team that covered the national elections of the NPP. Of course, the TV3 crew and Media General crew. I think they did a yeoman's job, and we're going to be speaking to them at this point so they can also give us a narration of how things panned out during the elections, and of course, what their concerns and observations were as well. So Roland Walker is here. He was there very early in the morning, giving us the rundown on who was there, preparations towards the elections, the Congress, and all of that. And so good morning, and good to see you in the studios. I don't know if you've rested at all.
I did try to rest yesterday, so that was okay. I just lost a bit of my voice, you know, managing the team, trying to whip everybody into line, but that's okay.
So you are the chief whip?
Oh, not necessarily.
During the elections?
No. I think that we have a general manager, Michael TJ, wanted us to have a good coverage, so he decided to make sure that he delegated authority as to what we could do and what could not do. But essentially, all of us decided to put our shoulders to the wheel to make sure that we have a successful coverage.
You did a good job. You did a good job. Now, another person who was there, I mean, I watched him in the morning as early as 6 or 7 a.m. he was reporting. And as late as 3 a.m., he was still there, you know, giving us updates on what was happening as well. William Evans Inkum, and he joins us via Zoom. Good morning, William. I think you'll need to unmute yourself. We can't hear you.
Okay.
So he's the bureau chief for the Northern Sector. Yes, and he joins us. Good morning.
Good morning, Bella.
Good to hear from you. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing very well. Good to hear from you too. And good morning, Roland.
Have you had any rest at all?
Well, I am trying to pick up the pieces this morning. Maybe tomorrow I'll report to work, but I just want to have a rest today because we haven't slept for the past 48 hours.
I can imagine, but great job to you as well. And like I mentioned to the entire team, but Roland, I'll start off with you. I mean, ahead of the National Congress and the elections, a lot of things were flying about, allegations and concerns about, you know, people even paying just to get the delegates to vote for them and all that. So I can imagine what the expectations were like, especially for Media General going into the elections. How did it turn out for you?
I have to say that we had a good team. Kamala Adom was available, Della Michelle. We had Egbeta to make the conclusions. And of course, we brought in from Kumasi our man, William Evans Inkum, and then a great team of technical people as well. Judith, our Chitanda was fantastic. Evelyn Tingma was also available. But, you know, for what we do, it's always the technical people who are not recognized. And Edu from the technical department was fantastic. McCaffrey. And then we had from those who put together the branding and make sure everything is fine for us.
And digital too.
As well. And then Andy. So we wanted to approach this from a position where on the ground we'll be able to deliver despite all the issues, you know, because as a group we're also launching Ghana's Most Beautiful in Kumasi. It also means that there's going to be excessive pressure on equipment and movement of logistics, and we have to make do with what we have. So we decided to use the experiences that we have to make contacts, and then also make sure that we had the right team in place. The related issues about what could happen, we always anticipated. Our initial thought was that we're going to have the delegates come in early. And then we will have the whole event as scheduled from 9 o'clock as it was by way of the timetable that was given by the new Patriotic Party. It didn't happen.
What was the reason for the delay? Because they delayed for over what, 4 or 5 hours?
They delayed, I have to say, from 9 up to 1. So that'll be around 4 or 5 hours.
Exactly.
And there was good security in place. Everybody was well accredited. Those who were accredited knew where they have to be at the right time. So even without media accreditation, you would know that you can't just go anywhere at all. And then even for the participants, they were segmented into those who were delegates, those who were observers, those who were representatives of the various states agencies, whether state enterprises or either quasi-government institutions, and then the so-called invited dignitaries, from other political parties internationally, etc. So those people were categorized in such a way that it made movement very possible. And I have to say that this is one of the most well demarcated and organized events because of the sheer numbers, in excess of 7,000.
Yeah.
I met Captain Budukumsen, who was part of the committee for security. He was on the ground from the early hours of 5 o'clock, because I got there around 5 something.
That's
and I have to
early.
say that the reason why the delegates didn't come, I still cannot imagine why. Of course, we have our sources indicating that the various candidates had camped some of the delegates at various areas within the city. And, you know, you have to collect from one and take from the other. So monetization, even though you find at other events of such nature, I think the new Patriotic Party learned some bigger lessons this time around.
Yeah.
So what we did have by way of our sources was that the candidates' teams would have to go and visit them. They have to exert their pound of flesh. The assumption is that if you are voted into office, we will not see you, because the behavior or the habit has been that they don't pick up calls of those who are the grassroots unless you are the top echelons of the party. And so they wanted to take their own from one candidate, pretended as if they haven't taken from that person, quickly rush to the next venue, as if they also, so people were in triple camps, double camps, etc. And that caused the delay. It's also exhausted a lot of the other people who were coming to offer services like the media, catering, etc. Because everybody had scheduled to undertake the thing within the period when they thought that the timetable that the NPP had given will be done. And that was problematic.
William, looking at the demeanor of the delegates, I mean, ahead of the voting, could you tell that there would be some surprises, or did it look, because earlier we had heard from the likes of John Boydu and people from his camp who were very optimistic that he was going to emerge victorious and retain his seat as General Secretary. But again, we all were aware of that very popular Cote Fear delegate. If you looked at the delegates, could you tell that they were probably not too excited about the work that had been put in by John Boydu and the others, and were probably going to vote against them?
Well, absolutely. There was a total discontentment at the grassroots level. There was some level of, one would say, a gut feeling as far as the sentiment gauged at the grassroots level was concerned prior to this particular national delegate conference. So it was telling, I mean, the faces of these guys, or the fanatics, I mean, the party's fanatics, that they were ready to punish certain elements within the national, I mean, executive structure. And that was exactly what happened barely 48 hours ago. Now, I would have been very surprised if, I mean, if Justin Kudia had lost this particular election. That would have been a major shock, because the crescendo of joy that greeted his entry, the crescendo of joy that even greeted his, victory, is evident that indeed he was always, I mean, the people's choice. So it would have been one of the greatest shocks since the days of Saigon.
I mean, it's not surprising, like you said. When he was called on stage, I also noticed, and I even tweeted about it, because the moment he got on stage, there was an uproar. Everybody was excited. They were cheering him on, and he got the most, fans as against the other contenders within that category. So it wasn't surprising. But then again, the camp of the others were very sure that it was going to go to them, even especially the then incumbent at that time. And so did it come as a shock? Because we could tell from his demeanor towards the end, when the announcements were about to be made, that he wasn't too happy about the results. Clearly so.
Absolutely, because Wontumi was leading the campaign. Wontumi had gone round to tell all the 16 regional chairmen to give John Boydu some level of morale when he gets to, I mean, their part, I mean, where they were actually seated. So he thought that once he has the support of the regional chairman, it will trickle down to even the national coordinator to at least consolidate his gains as far as retaining his position as the chief scribe of the party was concerned. But that was never to be. That is why they always say with this, I mean, political mantra, fear delegates, because what is ingrained within is different from what people will tell you. And if John Boadu had read between the lines, would have known that this certainly wasn't his game. In fact, I think that one thing that also didn't help him was the fact that prior to the election, there were rumors that he will not contest this particular election and that he was eyeing to enter into parliament. And there was even, I also heard that he was even working on succeeding Kennedy Japan in the Ascent Central and all of that. So even the preparation from his camp wasn't, one would say, well executed, because this rumor also didn't help matters. It reminds me of what happened to the former Oforikrom MP, Elizabeth, and when she actually, in her mind, she had wanted to contest, but came out to tell the delegates that she will not contest and she wants to take a rest, only to come out again and then contest. I mean, the same thing happened to Isaac Osei in the Subin constituency. So you have to make your intentions very clear as far as this political game is concerned. If you know that you're going to contest, it should start from the very beginning. You don't go halfway and then you withdraw. If you do that, it's gonna affect you, and that is exactly what we saw. I'm not saying that was, that kind of decision affected him in entirety, but the fact that he was not in a very effective touch with the grassroots also, punished his political or future political fortunes.
What are delegates saying about those 10 regional chairs? I mean, not 10, 16, all 16 of them, actually, in that video where they all threw their weight behind John Boadu. I mean, I've seen tweets where people are saying that the right thing to do would be to resign at this point, because clearly, if you are not for JFK and he's become the general secretary, then you have no business working with him. Should they resign?
Well, if you ask me, there's a certain history to getting accolades and endorsements. And it started in the year 2000 when we had Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, the president, outgoing president, raise the hands of John Evans Atta-Mills as his candidate for the NDC, and he lost.
Yeah.
And subsequently, there was a subtle means of so-called rumor from the rumor mill of endorsement of Alan Chamantin in 2008. And so the endorsement don't tend to work. I don't know why the political figures or the leaders of our country just don't tend to learn from posterity or history.
Yeah.
But it looks like, if you look at the dynamics, there are indicators that if you have a chairman who rallies people behind him to support somebody, and that person don't get elected.
Yeah.
And this time we have Justin Kudia, who has been elected. So you have to, by way of the administrative structure, the general secretary being the main administrator of the party, communicate, liaise, and make sure the party works with him.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that with 2 years into the term of the governing party,
yeah.
and then 2 years into, or an extra 2 years after that term has ended for your position? How are you going to make sure that you're in good terms, etc.? It doesn't look good for those parties. I'm not too sure about resignation because they were elected.
Yeah.
So if you are elected, there are processes within the NPP constitution by which you can abdicate your position or be sacked. But if they feel that by morality they want to resign, that's another question.
Yeah.
But morality doesn't work in our politics and our governance. Otherwise, we would have had the finance minister resigning because there's been excessive pressure on him to resign.
But he has a different reason for not resigning.
Yes,
He says he cannot abandon his dying children.
So they too will ascribe various reasons for not resigning. But it makes it difficult for those chairs of those regions, of those constituencies within the region of Ashanti to be able to work well with the various organs of the party within the region, because at the constituency level, you will find that there are other chairs or heads at various branches or electoral areas, etc., that you have to work with. If it doesn't go well, it also gives you an indication that your orders may not be carried through.
Yeah.
It would also mean that you will be overlooked, and then the main structure of the party may not be communicating with you, the chair, They will bypass you, just like a normal internal politics of a corporate organization. And the NPP is a very big organization. So yesterday I saw a tweet or a post from a presidential staffer who is my friend.
Okay.
And he said 50-50. So 50-50, I was thinking based on what the rumor has been or the speculation is that maybe Alan's side is 50, but the Baumia end is 50. But it doesn't speak well of the party which has a base of Ashanti. However, on the grounds yesterday, for those who were coming from the Ashanti region, and we spoke to some of them, not on live TV, who were ready to give us information, they said that the party has returned to its original home. So we'll see how it goes.
Which is the Ashanti region.
That's what they say.
Well, William, so I mean, clearly that we heard from chairman and team who had tried 5 times, and this was the only time after 20 years that he eventually emerged chairman of the party. And there was something that he said that was very critical, that he was going to restore the peace within the party and the unity within the party. How easy or difficult is this going to be for him?
It will depend. Now, we have a situation where we thought that we're going to have, for once, we're going to resolve the issue of TESCON not even being part of the party structure in principle. They failed to do that. We saw a remnant, literally a remnant of what happened in May during the regional election happen again at the national level. Let me give you a bit of history. So TESCON started in 2001 under Asensu Boakye. So TESCON, you can say that, was the brainchild of Asensu Boakye. Right after, at Kenya University, of course, right after the 2008 elections, there was a need for the party, because the party lost the 2000 election. So there was a need for them to do some level of a postmortem.
Okay.
In 2009, there was some amendments in the party's constitution. That was the first time TESCON was recognized. But TESCON was recognized on the fringes of the NPP's constitution, because if you pick the NPP's constitution from Article 1 to Article 20, it is only Article 10G that TESCON is mentioned explicitly, and that is to take part in the regional executive election, and also, of course, the national executive elections. I was expecting to see an explicit definition or a definition provision for TESCON under Article 15, Clause 4, 6, subsection 6, but that didn't happen. This particular article defines the role of the youth wing, and of course, the establishment and the role of the youth wing. So under this particular article, I'm talking specifically Article 15, Clause 4, subsection 6 of the NPP's constitution. The youth organizer is giving the mandate, or the youth wing is giving the mandate under the constitution of the NPP to create branches, youth branches, in second cycle and in tertiary institutions. But for second cycle, they have issues with DS as far as establishment of political, kind of sensitizing these young lads in the area of politics is concerned. So that hasn't happened. But for tertiary institutions, of course, we know that across the various universities, we have TESCON, the NDC has 10, and all of that. So I was expecting the NPP to see that opportunity to at least give a definite provision for TESCON, having recognized the role TESCON has played since 2001 up to date. But better, now, because of the situation, because how TESCON is situated in the constitution of the NPP, the TESCON has more or less become a Trojan horse to incumbents. So, well, if I feel that it is not going on well with me, then he will try to manipulate the TESCON album just to gain some level of advantage. So, for instance, there's no clear a description when it comes to, or clear kind of directive when it comes to the selection of who becomes the president, and of course eventually annexed into the electoral college of the party. So if the youth organizer feels that, well, this guy is not in the camp of where I also belong, then I just have to expunge his name from the album. Exactly what happened during the regional election at the point in time, the Super came in and said, then let's suspend it. Exactly what happened, what was about to happen in the national elections, and then somebody injuncted it. When I spoke to the TESCON, I mean, those from the external branches, it was very sad because somebody had traveled all the way from the United States, from the Caribbean, from the other parts of the world to just to come and vote, only to be denied that voting right, or because that album has been injuncted. So if NPP, now the big question that they are asking is, does the party still recognize TESCON? It depends. As and when they are needed to consolidate somebody's gain, then they will invite. But what will the future hold? I think going forward, the party will need to amend the constitution again, all right? And then give a definite provision within the structure of the constitution so that TESCON can also have a place. Because the NPP insists that their constitution is in conformity of Article 55 of the 1982 Constitution, which of course defines and of course establishes that there should be a democratic process when it comes to internal arrangements and all of that. Then they should follow it to the letter. So and I can tell them, Roland can tell them that the TESCON people, the youth wing, they are not happy. So if they really want to ensure, total internal integration and also enjoy some level of a formidable force as a major political party under the Fourth Republic, then it's about time the TESCON recognition is not just seen on the fringes of the party's constitution, but it should be well annexed into the party's constitution with a defined provision so that it will help, to energize the party's youth wing and also help in galvanizing or canvassing, or kind of controlling some level of political numbers.
Roland, reviewing the constitution to ensure that the TESCON members have a voice is one thing, but the grassroots clearly show that they were unhappy, with leadership for various reasons. And so clearly the cracks have deepened. Looking at Mr. Stephen and team and the fact that he says that we're going to ensure that there's unity, how do you think this is going to play out in the 2024 elections? Because it's a very critical moment for them if they intend to break the 8. And he said himself that give me the chairmanship, I'll give you a president and we'll break the 8. Is it going to be an easy task for them?
It depends on how they play it out. What we did not see in this contest is to jab each other or throw insult at each other prior to the election. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And for all the political parties to learn that you can go onto the grounds. And so somebody like JFK didn't do the normal interview. Of course, John Boyd was here with Johnny, so that was also good for him. But most of them didn't do the trading of insults within the media or the public space, so that's a good thing. In December, they had a national delegates conference. In there, they tabled 91 proposals. Indeed, Evans has the tall list of the book that has the proposals. 38 were accepted to be looked at for this conference. They didn't take a look at it. They didn't? Yes. And it included a number of things. Of course, what was rejected was whether the Nasara wing could also be mainstream nationally and be having voting rights, etc. But there are key issues on the ground, going from the issues of Nasara, about involvement of young people, that I think that the chair or the chairman who has been elected needs quickly to get onto the ground and then heal wounds. The reason why people like Sami Krab, who had been suspended until recently now joining the party, decided to contest was that they still wanted to be part of the party. Prior to this conference, we had Kobne Japong, until now, had also been suspended and now mainstream into the party, all wanting to have a say in the party. So they need to bring all the feuding factions together, those who perhaps are not happy about how they were treated together. One thing is for sure, it looks like the Ashanti region is always for the NPP. And you could see that, I don't know whether it was deliberate, the way the stands were arranged at the stadium. Whoever did that arrangement, maybe didn't do those who lost any good. Whether it was planned or not, I don't know. So from the cemetery wing, and you find the cemetery, that wing there, we had Greater Accra, we had the Ashanti region, and then we had the Eastern region, and we had those from abroad, like they call them international executives or something like that. And it looks like those who lost, especially is not popular in Greater Accra region, it's not popular in the Ashanti region, it's not popular in the Eastern region. And these are the strong bases of of the region. What gives the NPP the upper hand is the Ashanti region over the NDC. The Eastern region tries its best but the demographics are different. The Ashanti, the Greater Accra region always cancel out. So I would, I think, encourage the new chair to make sure that he goes to a national tour of a sort and speak to the various executives of the party, from the chair to the region, to the ground level, and then try to heal them. He has to tackle those 16 chairs who perhaps decided to say that they wanted to go behind Jabwedu, and try to reconcile them with the various executives that they have on the ground and the people. Because some of the comments that were coming out of their mouths at the stadium were not too good.
Well, I wish we could delve deeper, but unfortunately time will not allow us. And so we'll wrap up at this point. And later, I'm sure that you get to hear from Roland, from William Evans Inkum, and the entire team that were on the ground, you know, with updates on what's next and what to expect. And of course, we'll be picking thoughts and opinions from social media, especially with regards to members of the NPP and what clear message they've sent out. But keep watching. This is TV3Newday. Thank you so much, Roland Walker. And William Evans Inkum, who joined us via Zoom. Thank you.
A friend is celebrating his birthday.
Okay.
Eli Chiagbe. In Ho, in the Volta region. Eli Chiagbe, it's your birthday, and I wish you all the best, Eli Chiagbe. Enjoy the time.
Ellie, happy birthday. How do you say happy birthday in Ewe? Hello. Anniversary la show. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Ellie.
I thought you speak Ewe.